Right, this is part 2 of our look at this famous book, Handbook of Spiritual Counsel. St. Nicodemus the Haggerite, or the Hagiorite, was also famous for this book, which he lifted from a Roman Catholic writer, the Roman Catholic saint Lorenzo Scupoli, and he basically brought it into line with kind of classical orthodox spirituality. He loved the book as the Roman Catholic saint had written it, but he just wanted it to focus a little bit less on the imagination and on meditation and kind of rumination, and more on the noetic and of course the war and the passions, etc. So there we go. And then St. Theophan the Recluse did a touch up on that as well, a further touch up. So there we go. As we said in part 1, it's very, very biblical little handbook. It's highly patristic, as you'd expect, and succinct, clear, waffle, very practical. Writing principally for, he mentions bishops a lot, so I'm thinking maybe he wrote this for the bishop. There's an extensive introduction for clerics and monastics, but also for interested lay people sick and tired of being caught in the matrix of the modern world. This is highly, highly practical stuff. So he's going to go through each of the senses, and the first one he deals with is the sense of vision. He says it's the king of the senses, as it were. It's the one that the mind pulls most of its data from. Therefore, it's the one that has the most sensory impression at the sense windows, but also in the soul. You know, you very quickly, as we said in the first part, in the desert, you can forget about conversations, you forget about music, if you're not hearing these things, but, you know, the sight, it remains, which is the absolute, you know, damage that's been done on social media by all these moving pictures that we're exposed to thousands and thousands and thousands a day. I'm engaged in kind of coming off the YouTube for 30 days, although I'm making these wee videos, but hopefully not too hypocritically, just to share good resources and the journey. But I find days I've done that very well so far. Very healing indeed. So, okay, let's turn to St. Nicodemus, the of the Holy Mountain, guarding the vision. Right, so he's going to say that, you know, our eyes take possession of what our body cannot, what our touch cannot. I cannot grab a beautiful woman you see in the street. You can't take it. You grab her, you go in jail. You wouldn't want to. But your eyes take possession from a distance. And nowadays with the internet, from many hundreds and thousands of miles away, the damage of the fallen sense of vision. And he's going to quote extensively from both Old and New Testament to show the damage that's been done, from, of course, famous ones like King David and Bathsheba, and teachings of Jesus on adultery. He who even looks at a woman with lust has already committed adultery with her in his heart. The eye is the lamp of the body, because it is such a powerful influence on the whole of our being. And here we go, St. Gregory the theologian. The lamps of the eyes touch the untouchable, make contact with that which is otherwise out of our reach. Let your eyes look directly forward, says the book of Proverbs, and your gaze be straight before you. I wonder what the book of Proverbs would have to say about the internet. I have made a covenant with my eyes, says Holy Job. How then could I look upon a virgin, a young maiden? The bewitching idolatry at the eye gates, the allurement of beauty. Proverbs 6:25 here Solomon reminds us, let not the desire of beauty overcome you, neither be enmeshed through your eyes. Enmeshed, gauged, caged people. And then we've got the church fathers. Nicodemus of the Philokalia collection. Do not be captivated by your eyes. Not even glancing cursory looks. Not allowing the seal, as it were, to be broken. There's going to be a big emphasis on this, as there was in classical Western ascetical spirituality. I know from my own formation, it was very much keep your eyes down when you're out and about. Don't be allowing them to go hither and thither all over the shop. So we've got this section on, how to behave. Principally, I think men are most affected by this still, although women are too, but, men are very visual creatures. So how should we behave when talking with a woman? This is nice Athonite spirituality. It's guard your senses, guard your eyes. It tells a story of it tells various anecdotes about people that were sent out on mission, etc., and they just simply didn't look at anyone other than the people they were sent out to, which again you could say was somewhat OTT. But at the end of the day, I'd rather that than be a slave to my senses and an addict at the sense gates. So, when I look back at my own spiritual formation in the order that I was in as a Roman Catholic monk, I did think it, for a number of years it was very harsh. We were always told to keep our gaze on the floor if we were out and about and all the rest of it. It seemed very life-denying. But actually, there's a lot of wisdom in it, and if it's done from a soft place of prayer and with a warm heart of love and humility, without excessive legalism, I think beautiful. I'd rather that, as I say, than be falling left, right and centre into carnal sins. I think at the end of the day, I'm going to say, well, oh yeah, sure, David fell, but I'm so much more superior than the prophet, than the psalmist and King David. Well, I'm setting myself up there for an arrogant fall. Here you've got a lovely section on some examples from the Bible of those who've not guarded their eyes. Right at the start in Genesis 3:6, it's Adam and Eve who looked upon the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. And it was through looking that lust came. From looking, lusting is born, and from no looking, no lusting is born. And again, as I said in the first part, I can testify to this, because what seemed so impossible, chastity as a young man in my 20s, you go into the desert where you're not going to see women for months and months, and you're not going to see visuals. There's no internet, magazines or any suggestive books or anything like that. You're not going to see any of that. All of this does go to sleep, very much so. Very much so. You will have battles. There'll be nights of battles, and we are all wired differently. But certainly that was my experience. Really, what I really like about this little book is it's very practical, and the author goes into the technica, as it were, behind these things, quoting from the church fathers and from holy sources. So what has not been seen, says the Geronticon, what has not been seen cannot be received by the understanding. What is not received by the understanding does not excite the imagination. What does not excite the imagination does not excite the passion either. And when the passion is not excited, there is serenity within. And it's that serenity that within that is the hesychasm. And so good luck getting anywhere near that if we're constantly enervating ourselves with the social media, which is inevitably plagued with all of these suggestive and very harmful, even sinful pictures, of course, and moving pictures. what these desert fathers looked to do was to make their eyes virginal. Blessed are the pure in spirit, they will see God. The pure in heart, sorry. They will see God. So how to get that virginitas cordis, the virginity of the heart? Well, he would impose the eyes upon a foreign beauty, no longer possesses a daughter, a virgin daughter in the pupil of his eye, but rather a prostitute. It's a play on what Jesus taught in the Sermon on the Mount. Saint Isidore here, who wrote, not only the body must be untouched, but also the glances of the eyes, for this is the reason why we call them choras. They must be virgins. Virginal gaze, pure gaze. And look at this beautiful snippet. Nature has itself provided the eyes with eyelids, that they be like virgins within their chambers. Thus, when they venture out of their proper quarters, they may be modest as they look upon any persons they meet. As Saint Isidore himself noted, Saint John Climacus too said it well, let us flee and avoid seeing and hearing the fruits of these things which we have resolved not to taste any longer. For I wonder if we can consider ourselves stronger than the prophet David, who prayed for this. It's interesting because we live in the world, most of us, and of course all of us really listening to this, and daily we have to leave the cell and go into our work, and you can't be eyes cast down all day. You'd soon be out of a job, most of us. And we have to interact with people and interact lovingly. Well, the advice I got from one holy monk was always ask the Lord for tears, a few tears on a morning. And when the eyes are softened with tears, it won't matter who's in front of you, whether they're male or female, it'll be like the same thing to you. The eyes that see through tears see the world differently. Well, if we can't make physical tears on a particular day, then spiritual tears may suffice. It's the gaze of repentance, the gaze of humility. And why it's always so lovely to read old books is because we see a different mindset prior to, as it were, Microsoft and our modern paradigm. Here he's counselling hierarchs and priests against fancy mirrors in their home, great big mirrors, where people fall into narcissism, irrational and effeminate people decorating their homes with large and luxurious mirrors. And there's a whole page and a half on this, which I won't go into detail, but it's just interesting, isn't it? The extent of this battle and struggle. And so if we moderns, lay people, if we're not making any struggle at all, no wonder it's a revolving door in the sacrament of confession. Well, it's me again, Father. Guess what sins I've been falling into again. Look at the struggles that these guys had. There's an interesting YouTube clip somewhere, how Saint Joseph the Hesychast overcame the demon of fornication. You see the struggles, the superhuman struggles, with the help of God's grace that he went through to gain some victory there. And you say to yourself, well, I haven't done that, anything like it. No wonder with the wee bit of fasting and the wee bit of praying I'm unskillfully and imperfectly doing, that I don't have victory at the eye gates. No wonder, because the great pure saints, Saint Joseph the Hesychast, he went to a cinema in America. It says in the movie on his life, he came out weeping. It was some 1950s, 1940s black and white movie, and there'd been some shooting in it. He came out weeping. Is this what we human beings have come to? We watch this as entertainment. This was the purity of the man prior to becoming a monk. So we have to, of course, be patient Now I'm getting into the realm of spiritual advice. God help me. I'm in no fit position for that. My advice is check out this book if you manage to get your hands on it. The free PDF downloadable is in the description. Your prayers. God bless. Adios.